the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son who was just like him, in his very image. He named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enoch. After the birth of Enoch, Seth lived another 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years, and then he died. When Enoch was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enoch lived another 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 905 years, and then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel. After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived another 840 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Kenan lived 910 years, and then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived another 830 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Mahalalel lived 895 years, and then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years, and then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day he disappeared, because God took him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived another 782 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, he became the father of a son. Lamech named his son Noah, for he said, "May he bring us relief from our work and the painful labor of farming this ground that the Lord has cursed." After the birth of Noah, Lamech lived another 595 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Lamech lived 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Ever feel like, whoa, compared to, the grand scheme of things? Our lives are just like a blink.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the world of, get this, biblical lifespans. We're talking Genesis 5, folks. Yeah, the one with Methuselah. Lives to be, 969? Something like that?
969, that's the one.
969. Now, look, we know what you're thinking. We're not here to, fact check the universe or anything. What we're really after is why those crazy long lifespans.
Yeah.
What were those writers trying to tell us about how people saw the world way back then?
It's a fantastic question. And honestly, Genesis 5, it often gets a bad rap, right? People see the genealogies and it's like, oh, skip. But honestly, when you really get in there, it's a gold mine. You get these little glimpses into how ancient societies thought about time, family, even the divine. It's fascinating stuff.
Right. Okay, so first things first, let's at least touch on that whole genealogy thing. We're going from, obviously, Adam all the way to Noah.
The whole crew.
Right. And the text, it's very methodical about it. Age of fatherhood, how long they lived after that, total lifespan, boom, boom, boom. But here's the kicker. There's this recurring phrase, other sons and daughters. It's easy to just breeze right past that.
It's so easy to miss.
Well, hold on a second. Right. Because that tiny little detail is implying some serious family reunions. We're talking like villages, maybe even whole towns descended from just one dude.
It blows your mind, right? The power dynamics. Imagine the oral histories being passed down, the sheer influence of these patriarchs. Talk about a different world, right?
Absolutely mind-blowing. And then, of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess the Methuselah in the room, Those lifespans, I mean, 969 years, I stress about a 30-year mortgage.
Right. It makes you wonder if time even meant the same thing back then. Some scholars even theorize that they had completely different calendar systems. Or maybe, just maybe, those numbers, not meant to be taken literally, it's symbolism.
Okay, so maybe we're not talking like dog years, exactly.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but even if they're symbolic, they have to stand for something, right? What's the message there?
Oh, absolutely. One theory that I find particularly interesting is this idea that a long lifespan, it wasn't just about how long you lived, it was a reflection of your spiritual standing, how favored you were by God.
So it's like saying, oh, this guy, he made to 900. Yeah, he was definitely tight with the big guy upstairs.
Yeah.
Makes you think, huh?
Yeah. It adds a whole new dimension to it, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of which, that kind of reminds me of Enoch, right? Because he's, even in this world of, crazy lifespans, he's still unique. Genesis says he walked with God, and then God took him.
It's such interesting language, isn't it?
It is.
It's not the usual, and then he died. It's like,
poof, gone.
exactly, vanished. Like, was he raptured? Did he ascend to another realm? We don't know, and that mystery is, I think, part of what makes these stories so enduring. Who knows? Maybe thousands of years from now, people will look back at our time and find some of our stories just as baffling.
Right. Makes you think. Okay, but moving on, let's talk Lamech, Noah's father, and specifically the words he uses when Noah was born. He's like, this one will bring us relief. And knowing what we know about the flood that's coming, I mean, talk about foreshadowing.
Right. It's like, whoa. It really sets the stage for the flood narrative and hints at, Noah's pivotal role in God's plan.
Right. It's huge. And speaking of the flood, isn't it interesting how after the flood, bam, lifespans they plummet. It's like the flood was a reset, not just for the world, but for humanity itself.
Definitely. It's a popular interpretation for sure. Was it a literal change to the environment that impacted lifespans? Or maybe it's symbolic, representing a new chapter in the relationship between humanity and the divine. It's really up for interpretation, but either way, it's clearly a major turning point.
It's incredible, right? We've got ancient family drama. We've got symbolism, divine intervention. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
So what do you think, listener? What stands out to you in all of this? Why do you think these stories still resonate with us after all these years? What is it about longevity, that connection to the ancient past, that still has that hold on us?
Or maybe it's not about us connecting to them, but what their experience can teach us, like about legacy or obedience, divine favor even. There's so much to unpack there.
There really is. And on that note, here's a little something for you to chew on. If you could hop in a time machine, go back, meet one of these 900-year-old folks, what would you even ask them? I mean, imagine what they could tell you. It might just change your whole perspective.